G'day guys, this week we're here with the Ford Everest Tremor. And this car here, although it's not an Everest Raptor, which I think some of you may really want, this is still a really fun car. And I think if anything, we're probably better off having this than the Raptor, because if we went the Raptor, we'd end up with the petrol V6 instead of having a brilliant turbo diesel V6 in this. So let's talk about the engine and the power. 184 kilowatts worth of power, and you're going to have 600 Newton meters worth of torque. The car itself, twin turbo V6 diesel and a 10-speed automatic transmission that makes driving an absolute breeze with this car. Makes it a really good car around town. So if you are just purely grabbing it just so that you have a tough looking car that you can pick up your kids or go pick up some milk at Woolies, this is going to do it. But if you do want to have some adventures and some fun with this car, it can also do it quite capably. The one thing said with this car is its base price is this. Now, this car here has a lot of the packs that you potentially as a buyer would want to actually add. Unfortunately, that means that the price really ramps up very quickly, and it means that you would actually be spending this in terms of pricing. So let me know what you think, if you're happy with this price or you would prefer the original price without any of the touring packs over here. Now, starting with the rough terrain pack, what you're gonna get is a steel bull bar. You're also gonna get a underbody protection system and also the auxiliary switch bank that's inside the cabin. So those three things there will cost you $3,550. Factoring in that the bar and the underbody protection are ARB, it's probably not that bad value, given that this bar here, if it was just on its own, would probably be somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 if you went to ARB directly. So not terrible value, just whether you want that type of value. Now at the front, you'll notice that there's a 360-degree camera system here that complements the front parking sensors, which are standard on the car. Now that forms part of another pack because, well, why not pack on the packs to increase the price to you, the customer? For $2,900, you can have the Touring/Tow pack, which is on the Tremor, a pack that consists of the 360-degree camera system, which is that, the Pro Trailer Backup Assist system, which allows you to use a dial on the dash to basically dial in and adjust your movements when backing up onto a trailer if moving a steering wheel is too difficult for you. It also gives you the towing kit and also a electronic brake controller kit as well. So all of those things come to $2,900 as part of this pack. Quite honestly, that one there actually doesn't seem like that bad value either. It just means that if you need to spend a bit more money for this, you have to kind of go the other stuff. And if you don't want the other stuff, you will still be lobbed with spending money just to get the 360 camera system. Now, I really like this car, but the one thing that does annoy me about a lot of brands when they choose to make a safety feature such as a 360-degree camera a option is it annoys me because the main consumer for this car is a family, which means they're gonna have little kids that are probably about yay high running around, whether it's on a farm, on a holiday, or at home. And look, the more things you can have to try to prevent someone accidentally, hurting their kid while reversing or while driving forward, I think is just something that we, as a manufacturer, you should just include, and price that into your car, because people are still going to pay the price for the car. This car here isn't a cheap car. It's in the 80s. Before you start adding on the packs, adding a camera wasn't going to jack up that price considerably, but it is going to increase and improve the safety for families. If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments section, but I think things like a camera system that could potentially make family life a little bit safer are just something that should be part of the package regardless. Now, let's move away from here and let's start talking about some of the other things on this car. Now, on the side of the car, they have gone for the General Grabber all-terrains. They're an AT3. It's a 17-inch tire, and not too aggressive an all-terrain, so it will be great on a beach, for example, where most of these will probably spend their time, but even better on the highway doing school runs or grocery runs, where most of these will spend most of their time. So You aren't going to compromise fuel efficiency by having too aggressive a tyre, and you're still going to have some pretty good wet weather handling, which the BFGK 02s that the other models in the Ford range have aren't that great in wet weather. Now, as part of the touring pack, obviously you get the side cameras as well, forming that 360-degree system. You have a puddle lamp that sits underneath each of the two mirrors. You've got these side steps, which are similar to those found on a Ranger Raptor. So they will take a bit of a harder beating than the standard factory side steps that you would get on lower grade models. Roof rails across the top, and of course the privacy glass on the back windows as well. Moving around to the rear of the car, you have your rear parking sensors and the tow bar and trailer brake system, which are part of that touring pack again. They have been fitted to this particular press car as well. Big Everest writing at the back just to let you know that it's an Everest, and the reverse camera, which comes as part of all the cars anyway. Opening this up, it's an electronic tailgate. The thing I really like about it is it doesn't make a lot of beeping to let you know that it's going up or down. It just does it. And of course, a massive boot space here and cargo area. You do have a 12-volt outlet just on the left-hand side and some shopping bag hooks on the outer two sides. Underneath here, you have a little bit of storage for things like your tow bar when it is fitted, and of course, any of your tools as well that you need down here. Now, let's talk about one thing that I've spoken at length in the past with, and that is these rear seats. The Ford Everest gives you top tether points on all the seats, meaning that you have 3 across that middle section, but you also have them on these back 2 seats. So you can pick and choose where your tether points for seats need to go based on your requirements for your family. Isofix are the outer 2 seats in the front, but you do have that flexibility with the top tether points in case you've got visitors, or as kids get older, perhaps you have another kid that slots in and you need to have additional seats and booster seats go on left, right, and center. So however you need to make it work, you have plenty of versatility to actually make it work. And the other cool thing that I like about it as well is to get these seats up. It's actually really easy to get the seats up, but you still have plenty of usable space behind those seats for a 7-seat four-wheel drive. Now, prams might be a little bit challenging to try to slot into here. Perhaps a compact pram might go in here. Your groceries definitely will, school bags definitely will, but you will have a little bit of space should you need some space here. But of course, a lot of people will opt for either a platform rack to put stuff on top, or just leave your kids at home and go on an adventure by yourself. Now, stepping through to the inside, and of course, while we're on the topic of packs, this car has a premium seating pack, which elevates the price and your seating comfort thanks to the premium price, which you can see here. And this is what you also get in that pack. Things like a premium leather seat with embroidery to say Tremor. You also have your ventilation and your heating for your seats as well. So that forms part of it as well. Ford has done a great job with the rubber floor mats that are available for this car. They actually cover a decent amount of space. They just don't go quite as high at the back as you kind of would like them to go, but they do cover off quite a bit of space underneath. So that's a decent job there by Ford. Cup holder just here that drops down. You get one on the other side as well. Aircon vents that are easy to maneuver and control to where you want them. Dash itself, hard plastics, soft at the front. You would probably want a dash mat just to preserve that dash and to also reduce the amount of reflection off it. The steering wheel is a nice size and is premium. And in terms of the adjustments for your steering wheel, the great thing is that unlike a lot of its rivals that are slightly cheaper, this does offer height and reach adjustment for the steering wheel, not just tilt adjustment. So you are able to position yourself in a really good position to where it's going to be comfortable for you for those longer drives. You have a digital display in the center here. You don't have a heads-up display at the top, but given your seating position and where this displays, you'll be able to see that really easily and clearly. So on those longer drives, you're pretty good to go. Indicators are on the right-hand side, wipers are on the left-hand side, and of course a massive bit of real estate in the center that we want to run you through. So come around and let's have a look through the middle. Now, moving through to the center, you have a massive digital display here. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it's basically the same as what you would get in a Ford Ranger. So it's a really usable system, and to pair up your phone and connect to wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. It's actually pretty easy to do. Dual zone climate control here as well. Plus you do have your seat heating or ventilation functions that can be controlled down the bottom here. I really like the fact that they have split the CarPlay section, which will be this section at the top here, from the controls for your air conditioning controls down the bottom. So you're not having to get out of one to go to the other. You're able to use both of those at the same time. So if you're following maps and you're then feeling a bit hot or a bit cold and you need to change your temperature, you're good to go there. They've also given you physical switches so that when people get into your car and they need to change the temperature for their side, they're not asking you where on earth you do it. It should be pretty straightforward and logical down here. The tow system is just there. And of course over here, you've just got a little bit of space in the glove box. Plus this little neat glove box at the top here, or storage at the top, where you can kind of put whatever you want, snacks, whatever, and lock that into place there. You have a wireless charging pad here, and you also have your cup holders just here. There is a bit of a storage just here, and it's actually got a French fry little emblem in there. That's because it's been designed to fit your McDonald's chippies in there. Or if you're a Yank, it's your McDonald's French fries. Automatic transmission. The one thing I do and don't like about this is it's pretty easy to move backwards and forwards. You just press the trigger at the top and do that. However, I did find in the Everest and also in the Ranger that sometimes it can lead you to accidentally put it into the wrong section, but only because it just shifts without having like a gated shift like traditional shifters. So you can kind of easily slide all the way forward or all the way back. I also found as well, it was a few times in the Everest, but I haven't found it quite in this yet, that it will go into a manual mode, which is the last rung on here. I am finding that the Everest doesn't do it as much as the Ranger did. So, but that was the Ranger plug-in hybrid, which again could be completely different to the standard Ranger. So we haven't driven that one, so we'll cover that when we get to that one there. Armrest and center console area has plenty of space for literally everything, plus cable channels for any wires that you want to run backwards and forwards. All your terrain modes are just here, and also your drive modes to get you from four-wheel high to four-wheel low to any of the other functions all through there as well. And all in all, in terms of the cabin interior, the build quality is pretty good, and you don't really hear any rattles or any loose kind of things in the car. So they've done a good job at actually elevating the type of car that is given to a customer versus what you would expect previously from Ford for the price. So although it is on the higher end of what cars cost, you are getting quite a lot of car and quite a reasonably built car in terms of the quality of the interior for that price. At the top here, as I mentioned, you have the auxiliary switches that are part of the rough terrain pack. The one thing I did mention before is that you had 6 of these. You actually have 5. I believe 6 is in the Ford Ranger, but you get 5 in the Everest. So just be mindful of that and accept my apologies for misleading you slightly. Let's get into the back and see what you get in the back. Now, in the back seat, you do have a reasonable amount of space for a SUV. You've got reasonable legroom. You've got a 400-watt auxiliary power section just here. You also have USB-C and USB-A outlets just there. And of course, your fan speeds for the back as well. The air conditioning, crispy cold. And although it's warm here in Brisbane, it is still winter. That gets really chilly really quick. You do have vents directly above your head on all of the rows so that no one in the back will actually be without airflow directly to them unless someone turns that off in the front. Isofix points, as I mentioned, just on the outer 2 edges just there, and an armrest that does drop down with cup holders that reveal from this section just here. Now, should you need a little bit of additional space in the back, you can move these seats a little bit forward. But that being said, that front seat is where I would position myself to be. I'm having to kind of keep my knees in between this channel here. So that is a little bit tight, but this can move a little bit more forward if you needed to. So if you had small kids in the back, you can adjust this backwards and forwards to wherever you need to so that you can have some space in those back seats. But let's climb into those back seats and see how much space there actually is, and would an adult actually want to sit in the back. Now, sitting in the back of the Ford Everest, not my favorite. It is definitely going to be tight. I'm not even going to attempt to get in behind that seat, which is where I was comfortably just before. I would have no leg room. If you are a child, you might have a bit of space here. Let's get this armrest up a little bit. Sorry, backrest. So now that that backrest is up, let's get this locked in. That's too far. Let's try again. That would be where I'd have to be comfortable from a legroom perspective. I would be grazing the top here. Now I'm 5'10", so take that at whatever you need for your kids or your family that might be in the back. But all three positions have been set at 5'10" compatibility. So this is what you're looking at. I don't think I would want to be in the back here for too long a time, but it can be done. It's just whether you would want to put someone into the back for anything longer than maybe a run down to the shops. Aircon vents, however, are directly above you, so you will have at least some air coming through, and you've got some little hooks here for perhaps maybe some clothes or anything else that you might want to hook onto there. And there's a 12-volt outlet down here so that you can plug in to charge, and some bottle holders. So that's what you'd have there. Look, I don't think I would put myself into the back row, but let me know what you think in the comment section. So yeah, there you have it, guys. That's a wrap on the Everest Tremor review. As I mentioned, this is an on-road review. If you would like an off-road review, let me know in the comment section. But there are some great channels with much bigger budgets that aren't self-funding that do have some really good off-road reviews. Channels such as Car Expert, Cars Guide, Chasing Cars have all done those. As I mentioned, I self-fund all of these reviews. So there's only so much budget and time that I can put to these car reviews. But really appreciate you watching. And if you're still watching and you're right at the end of this video, massive, massive thank you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps me greatly with access to cars, to getting cars a bit sooner so that I can give you the information a little bit quicker than everyone else. And of course, let's talk about the importance of this channel not being a big channel that has connected interests with some of these car brands. You know, we are completely independent, so if we tell you the car's nice or it's not nice, that's us actually telling you that it's nice or not nice. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching.